the reverence with which you are viewed in all points from Boca North is just unbelievable. And it was pretty incredible. You should have seen Lubie, the admiration that this young man had for the Greek. He couldn't get enough of him. Well, it took us like an hour to get the Greek back down on the set there. Maps and all kinds of stuff, and then those hot babes that were perusing the area.
Boca's unique, all aspects of life. You can see a dime piece, and then somebody has 2 minutes to live. No doubt about it. I mean, you can have somebody come up to you in Boca and ask you for Botox, and then next block ask you for Coke.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Degenerate Friday edition of the program. In fact, it's going to be rapid fire here today as we've changed the format a little bit of the show and trying to fit everything into a nice, tightly wound hour of degenerate activity. And we are going to just go one after another with our handicappers today, although I just get a message from Lubie saying, not a senor. Hold off on the Greek, who is going to join us right at the top of the show. The Greek on fire this year. I would say one of the few handicappers I know that has gone public with his selections, whether it's in a newspaper, online, or on the air, that is having a huge upside winning record so far and a large impact on your bankroll in a positive way. So we want to hear from the Greek as soon as we can. We'll connect with him. Then in rapid fire fashion, as I said, we're going to have Mark Lawrence of playbooksports.com with his selections. He had a nice week last week. And also the professor. We're still going to handle the big board and the professor's college football plays. Professor mired in somewhat, at least publicly, of a season-long slump. Would you say that's a fair statement? Although I don't know how he's doing on his own person. And look, there are going to be guys that are brilliant at this that have bad years or get off to bad starts. And you can only hope that they rally. But in general, you would have to say the level of expertise that's demonstrated here by the professor on the program and his overall winning record through the years more than justifies just sticking with the guy, trying to move your way through the tough times and make the best of it and see if he can't get a hot streak going as we get towards the end of the season here. Still have, about a third of the season in college football, maybe a little less than that. What have teams played like 8 games so far?
They act like the season's done now, but usually by the end of the year, we forget about the first part. Like, this is the part that matters. Like, November is its own animal, and it usually defines the Heisman, and it defines the season. And this is when teams like Michigan actually play ranked teams, and Ohio State. And so every week you actually will see real competition, and that's when you see undefeated starts to fall. So, yeah, there's still, I think, at least a third of the season left.
All right. So, some big games, too, on tap here on the college slate. All right, this is good because we got to this guy, and people are clamoring for his selections here, and rightfully so, because, as I said, he's been red hot all year long. He has a documented contest that he runs at some cigar bar in Boca Raton, a fancy place, fancy schmancy. I've been there. And it's changed names, though, so I can't give you the name. What is the name of that joint, Greek? The Greek joins us here on the show. Greek, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Strike Cigar Lounge.
Strike Cigar Lounge.
What was it before? It was something else.
The Diplomat.
Diplomat Hotel. Okay. Was it something else before that? I mean, maybe this is not the business to be in, this cigar bar business.
I don't know. I mean, whatever. God, you're a pain in the ass. My God, right out of the gate. Oh, my God. Jeez.
It's the same place, though, right?
Same place. Be easy on me. This is a rough week with me. Matthew Perry passed, and I'm still a little bit mourning. Last night, having telling people to bet Pittsburgh. That was a close game. Woo.
Yes.
16.
I felt pretty comfortable in that game. I was laying 3 with Pittsburgh also, and I don't trust Pittsburgh at all because their offense is terrible. And they had just enough going last night to cover the spread.
Yeah, I don't know if you trust them. I mean, that kid's 7-1 in 9 games so far in his career, and then the receiver steps out of bounds. That was a big play.
Yes.
Stayed under the game again. That's another big total. But again, like I said, you just don't know. This weekend, a lot of big matchups in the NFL and in college or NFL. You got Alabama, LSU, big game. I mean, the big news for us is that sports betting is going to be legal December 7th.
Yes. Now, how is that going to impact your life? Will you be running down to the casino there and placing your wagers? So,
I might once in a while, for us, it doesn't really affect us. I mean, the kind of guys we are. I think the table game and the craps is going to be unbelievable for them. I mean, you can't get into Hard Rock now on weekends.
right.
On weekends, honestly, it's like a 2-hour wait to get in. The rooms are outrageous. God bless them. I mean, I think it's good. It's creating a lot of jobs in Tampa and Seminole, Coconut Creek. I think it's great. I mean, I'll go down every once in a while and put something down like on a Sunday morning. And, if you want to bet something and then you can go back the next day, the same thing as the track. But I think it's fantastic. I hope it goes through. I mean, you never know, 11th hour something happens, but I think it's great. I mean, I think it's good obviously for the state. I think they're going to see money that's going to make their hair look like Don King.
Yep.
So they're going to be like, oh my God. They're not going to get the mobile app though. They're not getting that. So that's where the huge money comes in for all these other places with sports betting.
Whole thing seems very fugazi to me, Greek. And I'm not sure that I can embrace it totally. I mean, it's nice being a degenerate to have the opportunity to bet. The sports app, as you said, seems to be the method of choice for most people. And when you go actually in Atlantic City, where it's legal, and where for a long time New Yorkers were being shut out, and they had to cross. It was like we were talking about it yesterday. It's about like the wet foot, dry foot law. You had to be halfway across the bridge to make a bet on your phone. And then they would go running back to New York City to their jobs after being on the bridge, riding bicycles out there. It just seems so stupid that they don't have some kind of universal way of opening things up and have it, start out as it's going to be. Maybe make some improvements to it, but the fact that a lot of the local casinos are shut out from this, and then it's strictly to Seminoles. I thought they were just paying a set fee to handle all of this activity. Like they were giving a state like
they are
$50 billion a year or something.
500 million. They signed with DeSantis, and then the other casinos bitched, like Gulfstream and Tampa Bay and the couple you got down there, and then they went to court, and twice it got upheld. It still can get heard by the Supreme Court down the line, but the way it's looking, it doesn't look like it. That's why they're not putting it on the app. They're just going to make it in person. And in person, like I said, I think they'll do well, but on the app, they'll crush it because every other state crushes it. Maine just got it yesterday. Again, all these states get it because they see the other states making millions and millions and billions of dollars. Obviously, if you see something, what are you going to do? It's like when somebody calls you and said, hey, somebody's out, he's not quartering. The whole world bets it.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's big money, but it's also politics. And when politics gets involved in anything, you know what that means. You're a smart guy, Lubie's smart. There's always backdoor moves and this and that. And
you think?
I'm glad we got it. Yeah, you want a bridge? 10,000. You don't want the bridge? 11,000. I mean,
Exactly.
Well, when DeSantis was wearing a headdress at that first debate, I wondered how much of that was influenced by the fact that the Seminoles had made a deal with him.
I think it's great. So, I mean,
All right.
it's come a long way in our life. Obviously, for somebody like, you and me betting for years, and obviously you could only bet when you went to Vegas. And really, Christie was the one who started all this. He was the one who really pushed it in Jersey, and they said for years it wouldn't happen. The only threat with Vegas is that, we have something Vegas doesn't have for the New Yorkers and the people in the Northeast is the beaches and the beautiful weather.
Yes.
So that's where I think a lot of times, honestly, I think that's where the push came back. We're like, hey, wait a minute. If they can go 2 hours, they will. So now it's another feature for these people when they come down from New York, like I did years ago, and you just come watch the Jets and Knicks. You come down here and you're like, okay, wow, now I could, go to the beaches, hang out in, Miami, Brickell, whatever, gamble. It's another attraction for the state of Florida. I mean,
No doubt. I never understood why craps and roulette were deemed to be taboo. I never got that. If you could play blackjack, which,
yeah,
I mean, tell me you can't take a bludgeoning in blackjack. It's not like you're a more responsible gambler if you're at the blackjack table than you would be if you're playing roulette.
But that was the deal that they got in the very beginning. So they just let it go because they didn't want to push it. And like anything else, you say, okay, I'll take this. And as they got bigger and bigger, and it didn't make sense, so now they have that. I think it's going to be a huge thing for them with the craps and roulette, even more so than the sports betting. The sports betting will be huge, I think, when they get the app.
Yep.
I mean, because you still got to go down there, and for a lot of guys, it's just like the track. I mean, there's days I'll go to Kennel Club, on a Friday afternoon and bet Gulfstream a couple races, right? Just blanks and giggles. You know the way I bet.
Sure.
But I would never drive down to Gulfstream.
Right.
Just wouldn't.
I'd be uninclined unless I just was desperate to make a wager to roll over to the Hard Rock because, as you said,
It's going to be
and I used to spend a lot of time there. I did a lot of jobs over there when they were doing their boxing series, and it was a lot of fun. But it's so packed at this point that it's almost a disaster, right? You could tell, I guess, by the price of the valet parking. It used to be $5, now it's $40.
Oh,
Get it, $5. You kidding me?
Yeah, I used to pay $5 to valet park there, and now it's $40 a few years later.
Oh yeah, it's great. Well, it's what they set the price and people pay it.
Yep.
Because the other thing is they got the garages, and who wants to walk like you're walking from Secaucus, New Jersey? I mean, they're not stupid, and
No.
far of anything. Actually, the guys who run the casino should run the country.
Honestly,
I've always
people
said that.
for
Oh, no doubt, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
just the line makers really should be in charge of everything, and we would have no problems. All right, we got to hustle through some things here. So, and people are loving your picks. The Polyman sends his regards, my dear friend, the Polyman, and he says that of the people, he's been passing along information and selections from various handicappers that either go on the air or put out picks, selections through other methods and other platforms. And you are far and away the winningest of almost everybody of the people that he's been following and passing along what he thinks is expert advice. You're running away and hiding from the rest of the field. Last week, 2-1 in the NFL, 3-2 overall with the college picks. So still a winning week for the Greek at 60% and 67% in the pros. Fire away. What do you have for us this week?
Well, we'll go with the big games because that's what everybody cares about. Marquee teams are always going to get the big notice. I'm going to go at LSU, Alabama over 60.
Okay.
Saturday night over 60. I do like Notre Dame over Clemson. They're getting a few points. And Sunday, I like the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs coming off a loss. I heard Andy Reid threaten the whole team. If they lose, they're going to have to go to a Taylor Swift concert. They were like, okay.
You have to date Kit Taylor Swift.
Yeah, they said, we're not losing to Miami if we got to do that.
Yep.
I think the Bengals are hot as a firecracker right now. I think they beat the Bills. I really do. And I think the Eagles beat Dallas.
All right.
Those are your marquee games.
All right. And Chiefs Dolphins. See, I'm inclined. I know that line has come down towards the Dolphins side of things. It opened up, I think, 2 and a hook. Lubie had it at 1 yesterday. I think it might have gone back to 1.5.
On a hook.
Okay. So essentially a pick'em game. It's a neutral site. Nobody being accorded the 3 points that is customary to go with the home team and the home field advantage. I just don't see the Chiefs as being as explosive as they were in the past. Maybe you'll be a little better defensively than they've been, but I don't know. That offense is uninspiring to me so far.
And I'm just pushing.
He's getting
What's
gas.
that?
I think he's getting coffee gas.
You're breaking up badly for me, Greek. I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah, we lost him. All right.
Okay. All right. What did he say?
NFL plays. Okay, the Chiefs. I'm giving him 1 over Miami. What were the other 2? Does he go super fast?
He liked the over in the LSU Alabama game. He likes Notre Dame over Clemson.
Yeah, I got the college.
Chiefs over the Dolphins, Bengals over the Bills, Eagles over the Cowboys.
Okay, so Cincinnati was it.
Okay, Cincinnati, the question would be with Cincinnati, have they actually returned from the dead?
Yeah. Yep.
Which they appear to be. Somebody was making note of the fact that I guess it was a color analyst, whoever was doing the game last week with the Cincinnati Bengals, and was saying that the movement of Joe Burrow clearly indicates that he's over this calf injury and that it's the big difference maker in his play. That if he was going to be just an absolutely stationary target, well, we've seen him running for his life. I mean, the offensive line of the Bengals is something that desperately needed to be addressed in the offseason. I don't know if they fixed that. Does it seem to me that Burrow was getting buried early in the year? Every time you watch the Bengals game, you were wondering, why is this guy looking up at the lights every play? But this last effort, he looked pretty slick, and it looked like he was getting decent enough protection and maybe a little bit more mobile. So that's the big question of the day. Have the Bengals come back from the dead, Lubie? All right, Mark Lawrence, are we going to get a chance to speak with Mark? Did you get a hold of him? Very good. All right, Mark Lawrence going to join us here on the show, playbooksports.com. Then the professor, as we continue on a Degenerate Friday, which we do have the Breeders' Cup getting underway today. Massive amount of opportunity to make some money here. I'm looking at the entries, huge fields, and I did want to allude to something here that you can look for. I guess if you were watching on the simulcast and not on NBC, 2 races today. Our good friend Pete Aiello, who happens to be obviously close with our buddy Frank Miramati, who is the track announcer at Santa Anita and also Saratoga, did a bang-up job this year. And I don't know how this came about. It may have been just out of friendship, kind of an interesting thing. The tracks are owned by the same company. Stronach Racing owns, I don't know what they call it, but Frank Stronach owns both Santa Anita and Gulfstream. Pete Aiello, our good friend Pete Aiello, is going to be calling a couple of the Breeders' Cup races at Santa Anita today.
Nice.
Yeah.
What? That's great.
Yeah. Real good guy. And so Frank, I guess he decided, hey, I don't know if he has something, can't imagine what else he would have to do, but he wanted Pete Aiello to get a chance to call some of these races. So he's going to call a couple of Breeders' Cup races.
Nice.
Which is great. Yeah. So nice little thing worked out there between 2 of our friends. All right, we'll come back with more. Mark Lawrence going to join us here. We'll have his selections, a couple of college, a couple of pro picks, and then the professor on college football, and of course the big board, or whatever direction that goes in today. Oh well, we know what it's going to be, right?
Oh, good for you. You got it. I didn't. He's like, you're not going to like it. I'm like, why do you think I'm not going to like it? It's like, well, because of what you said this morning. I'm like, no, I was just in the middle on it. Like, you go like black or white on everything.
It's all right. That's why he's a professor. That's why he's entertaining. It's great. Sitting on the fence doesn't necessarily get the job done, Lubie, as you well know. All right, we'll come back with Mark Lawrence in a moment. Now that
The time.
it's 8:21.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
All right. Tell me you had it, Mark Lawrence. Tell me you had the ultimate parlay, money line parlay, Jets, Bengals. Both teams had to be, 10-1 money line. It hasn't happened since 1973. I think you're probably well aware of that 2 double-digit underdogs have won straight up in the National Football League. So we're talking about 47 years of history that was erased with this double whammy that took place against the chalk. And many people got buried on that. Tell me you had it. Tell me you had a little taste on the money line Jets-Bengals parlay.
I tell you this, that if I had played the Jets and the Bengals on the money line parlay, I would be the lead speaker at a Gamblers Anonymous meeting.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're going, as we said, in rapid-fire fashion here as the hits just keep on coming, and we welcome to the program. Been with us a long, long time. We love this guy. He's absolutely fantastic. You talk about credibility, multiple-time a world handicapping champion. He was in this game before it was a game. Well, I don't know if he's that old, but no, he kind of invented this whole thing with the database that he put together, and nobody's more on top of it when it comes to the numerology of handicapping sports than the great Mark Lawrence of PlaybookSports.com. Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing just terrific, Defo. How you doing?
Doing well, man. We're juggling a lot of things here. Lubie and I are producing shows that we're not doing till later on the fly as we're doing this, and we're trying to make the people some money because we're heading into the holidays. Is there anything better than making a giant score right before the holidays? I will never forget the time that a horse called Silent Night won the walkout race at Calder Racecourse on Christmas Eve. And we all made a big score. I think he was like 20-1 in the morning line, got bet down to like 8-5. But everybody unloaded on Silent Night. And sure enough, he came cruising home. Silent night, lonely night. It was great. We were all singing all the way back to the bar and had a nice Christmas as a result of that. So hopefully we can fuel people's bankrolls in some positive way with some selections here. Some big games on the slate in both the colleges and the pros. A couple of real marquee battles in the NFL with the Chiefs and the Dolphins. And this is probably supremacy in both conferences. The Eagles and Dallas going after it to take command of their respective conferences. And Alabama, LSU, another marquee game on the slate there on the colleges. But you're not inclined necessarily to go with the big games. You want to go where you can make money. So what do you have for us this week, Mark Lawrence?
We'll go with a couple of under-the-radar games, if you will, Defo. I'll say this by setting the college football card up this weekend. There is a lot of oil spillage happening in
great.
college
Wow.
this week.
Going Valdez already. This is fantastic. You know that's my favorite theory.
Yeah, I understand.
The double secret revenge theory, I think, is a good one. Yeah, double secret probation or one of those other ones that you espouse from time to time. But leaking oil is on my all-time favorite.
The best one.
Well, there's 10 such games this weekend. So we got a little bit of an oil. Mark says
there's a slick out there. Gray slick.
There's an oil slick. We're going to mop up with a few of them here, hopefully.
All right. Who can we sue? That's the question. Who can we sue?
Yes. Tonight, Friday on the football card tonight, Boston College. We're going to take 5 points from a Syracuse football team that has gone into the federal witness protection program.
Yes.
You look at what Syracuse has done. I mean, my goodness, you talk about the first half and the second half of the season dichotomy is completely opposite. Syracuse opened up 4-0 straight up and against the spread. They won those games by an average of 267 yards a game. They looked like they were world beaters and headed to the top 25 rankings. Then the next 4 games, I don't know what they drank or what they ate, whatever happened. They've gone 0-4 straight up and against the spread since then. They've lost the games by an average of 302 yards a game and an average of 18.5 points a game. Now they're laying points here. They're laying a field goal to a Boston College team that is a really good dog. And they play really well on weekdays, Boston College. They've cashed 5 or 6 games on weekday games. Give me BC plus the 3 tonight for our first leaking oil play.
It's a shame, but I have to go right along with you. I would unload on Boston College the way Syracuse has been playing. It's a disgrace.
Well, I think Boston College has won 4 in a row. I think since that FSU game, they've won every game. They're actually playing really well. That's a weird.
And they were in that FSU game.
They were. That's a weird.
Probably gave FSU as tough a battle as anybody this year, including LSU.
They did.
Yeah, they lost by 7. They were in the game right down to the end. Exactly. Right.
Yep. All right. That looks like a layup there. How many points are we getting with Boston College in this
game? We're
game?
taking 3. We're going to take 3 points. There's going to be a common denominator in our selections here today. The first being we're taking 3 points with Boston.
Okay. All right. What else you have for us, Mark?
Second game, we're going to take 3 more points with the Houston Cougars against Baylor. This is a Baylor football program that has really hit the skids, if you will. They've been out-yarded 5 consecutive football games in a row. And you're looking at the Houston football team that's coming off of their head coach Dana Holgerson's worst loss of his career. He was beat 41-0 in his last game, and usually you'll find embarrassed coaches coming up with much better efforts the next game. The game before they were shut out, they took Texas right down to the wire. They had a 7-point loss against Texas, so they haven't completely fallen off the map here. Baylor's struggling right now. They shouldn't be laying points to anybody. We'll take Houston plus the 3 for our second Exxon Valdez play.
Okay, a couple of oil leaking teams there on the college ranks. Moving to the pros, Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com.
We're going to look at two dogs that are looking to settle scores, if you will, in these football games Sunday. First play, we're going to take 3 points with the L.A. Rams playing with triple revenge against the Green Bay Packers. The last loss being last year, late in December. They lost at home on a Monday Night Football game. They were doubled up in the score. You got Green Bay coming in here. Who knows why they're favored? I don't second guess the odds maker. All I know is I see a Green Bay team that has lost and failed to cover each of the last 4 football games in a row, and now they're dressing up as favorites for the first time this season here. Give me the Rams plus the 3.
Man, the Rams are playing okay.
I don't think I could wager a dime on Green Bay, having unfortunately been stuck with them a couple of times in my personal bookmaking ventures. And you're looking out there and just saying, what dreck, my God. And I'm betting on these guys? Forget about it. Yeah, I'm with you. I would take a shot with the Rams there. What other pro game do you have for us, Mark?
We're going to take 3 points with the Buffalo Bills, this big football game here against Cincinnati as well. Buffalo obviously was playing with playoff loss revenge from last year. What's unique in the football game are 2 things. Josh Allen, their quarterback, has been terrific on the road when he has revenge. He's 9-3 straight up and against the spread. But this is the first time Buffalo is taking points in a regular season football game. They've been favored 28 games in a row. Now they're going to be taking 3 points from the Cincinnati Bengals with that big revenge chip on their shoulder here. Give me Buffalo plus the 3. And did you figure out our common denominator here in these football games yet?
You're getting 3 everywhere. In fact, I'm going to give you $3 and have you parlay the 4 teams for me.
Field goals are wild, exactly. Right.
Yeah, that line actually, it's interesting, Mark, because it looks like it's climbed and people are jumping all over the Bengals in this game. So I had it. Yeah, this is yesterday's news, I guess, in my New York Post line. I had Bengals 1.5, so that's climbed to 3. That thing has doubled overnight.
Yeah, Bengals are really, really popular right now because they're a hot football team, and Buffalo appears to be struggling, of which they are. They're not playing their best football, but they're still Buffalo. They're still Josh Allen. They still have that large revenge playoff chip. So I think it all adds up in Buffalo's favor on Sunday.
All right, certainly capable. Where can people get more of your stuff? Playbooksports.com just does a dynamite job, an essential tool for many people that are involved in handicapping. Where can people get involved with Playbooksports.com?
Well, it's all right there, Defo. On the website at playbooksports.com, we publish 3 weekly football newsletters. Our Playbook football newsletter, just an encyclopedia filled with great stats, trends, and winning information. The only over-under totals tip sheet in the nation, and our midweek alert stat newsletter. We call it our daily racing form of football newsletters. Check them out all online at playbooksports.com.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Best of luck over the weekend. Will you be dabbling in any Breeders' Cup races by chance?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at those. I'm going to take a break and take a look at the card here. I just noticed the Classic real quick. It doesn't look like a big stick-out field here. I don't know if it's me or maybe because I haven't been in touch with the racing so much in depth. But I'll take a look at it because it's the Breeders' Cup if for no other reason.
All right. Everybody likes White Abarrio in that race. White Abarrio.
Yes.
The big gray come flying home and get the money for everybody, hopefully at a reasonable price. All right, Mark, we love you, man. Thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you again next week.
My pleasure. Be well, Defo. Be well, Lubie. I'll catch you then.
Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we're trying to connect with the professor here. A little technical difficulty. And so when we do, we will have hopefully the big board and his college plays here on the Degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show. And we'll be back with the professor and more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:33. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
I have never, ever, since I've managed, ever told a pitcher to throw at anybody, nor will I ever. And if I ever did, I certainly wouldn't make him throw at a 130 hitter like LaFay or Bavacqua, who could hit water if he fell out of a boat. And I guarantee you this, when I pitched, and I was going to pitch against a team that had guys on it like Bavacqua, I sent a limousine to get the sucker to make sure he was in the motherfucking lineup, because I kicked that sucker's ass any day in a week.
Welcome back to the Defo Show here on 940.
I'm kind of glad you cut that off there, Levy. We are not on 940 Wins. We will be on the Tony Bruno Sports Network later on today, 10 to 12. We just got that thing started. We executed successfully, or came to a successful conclusion on an experiment in terror yesterday, as we brought our first guest into the equation, and it worked, right? But then people were saying it was kind of fuzzy the second hour, that you became...
was great, and then my sound sucked the entire second. It was literally after we did Robin sounded really good, the audio, he was really good. We went to break, we came back, and then my audio sounded like utter shit the entire second hour. You sounded good, but for some reason my audio was clipping the entire hour, which was really annoying. But
yes, you combine all of the factors there, and people are not accustomed to you yet that would be inclined to plug in on Tony Bruno Sports Network. Now we have our fans here that have crossed over into that realm, which is great. Always the questions, though, come up. I don't know, which is more difficult to understand or to explain to somebody. What would you say, Libby? How to pick up a show now in this new era of streaming and broadcasting, where you can essentially just Google anything, and something will be there. I'm amazed how many things show up when we Google that morning briefing thing from No Filter, and you have like 100 shows. Although they're scattered around quite a bit, but nonetheless, I mean, it's all there. It's all archived, and it's fantastic. But I think it would be. I've read about 6 things trying to explain and the rules and the principles behind the in-season NBA tournament. No, I've been doing this my whole life, so I essentially understand rules of tournaments and things like that. But two things that are completely foreign to me. One, of course, is soccer, and this is a derivative of a soccer concept. Adam Silver must have been hitting a head with a soccer ball or something. And he decides, well, let's spruce up the regular season by having an in-season tournament.
Okay. I think I've lost Defo. So fun. Internet, video, and radio is a really good time. I appreciate everyone who's followed us here. Appreciate everyone who's tried to follow us on the Bruno Show. Technical issues have been the story of this week. Defo's now frozen. I think it's Defo. I maybe me. I actually don't know at this point. I appreciate everyone who watches us wherever we are, whatever we're doing. It's been a fun 2 years since we got out of radio. I actually do enjoy everything we're doing. And I'm really stoked for the Tony Bruno. It's Defo. Okay. Well, at least it's not me. So I'm not talking to the wind. I do appreciate this idea of the Bruno show is actually really cool. Not Bruno show, the Bruno network, and then us with it. It's radio. Hopefully soon there should be, I think, video. They're working on a video component and archive. So it's the early stages, thinking of this as a beta kind of a thing. That's a term my wife is in the digital world. So if you've ever watched any kind of a computer show or movie, or if you have any inclination when it comes to technology, beta is a word they use. They haven't used that word. I'm using that word because it is the very early stages. And when it comes to apps, even like when we started our show, I mean, the first couple months were interesting, you know. So it's the beginning. It's just coming out of the gate, but it's fun. Like it's just it feels like our radio days, quote unquote, and it's getting back to the raw talking, not all the visuals. And eventually we will again have video, and they will have the archives. They'll have all the stuff that every digital platform has now. But this, for me right now, us just doing radio, it's very interesting because it does, for Defo and I have been able to see each other now on air for 2 straight years. The 2 years prior to that, he was doing shows at home. Yeah, for years we were in the same studio, so we saw each other. And then COVID hit, and Defo was at home, and I had to be in the studio. So we had gotten used to doing shows, not seeing each other, but getting the feel. I mean, we had done shows for 10 years together at that point. So it sort of was natural. But the radio thing worked, just feeling him out, him feeling me out. Yeah, exactly. That's not exactly. I don't think things can go well in beta, but it's still beta. Like you test for just in case things go wrong, Mr. Mayo. But we had gotten used to not seeing each other, and then the video we were able to see each other again. So now so we're going back to this world of doing a show without seeing each other, at least for now. And I'm not gonna lie, it actually tugs on my heartstrings a little bit because that was what we did for a decade. And whenever he'd go on a remote, we had the flow of not being able to see each other, and it feels like radio again. So I know everyone's asking, where's the video? And we will get there, Sarni. We will have video. We will have all the things. But I do think it's interesting to be doing radio again. And that's what right now the Tony Bruno Sports Network is. Ken's having technical issues too. So no Ken, no Defo. Defo's internet is not great, as you can tell. Ken, that's what's funny though. His internet's not great, but he has not sounded bad once on the Bruno show. My internet's strong. There he is. My internet's strong, and I'm the one that sounds like ass almost 2 of the 3 days we've done it. So he is back to when he's up to
What the hell's going on here, Lubie?
Your internet sucked and you dropped. But I'm here. Ken's having camera issues, which is sort of a big part of the big board.
It's huge with the big board, but we can get his college picks or something. I'm hoping that he can reprise the big board in an audio fashion, and maybe we can feature. I would imagine that this will deal with a certain person's passing earlier this week.
100%.
100%, and I think it should be open season on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. I would love to package up these thoughts, maybe under the power rankings.
Yeah, remember he did. That's the thing. This whole thing started with him doing something that was not visual.
Yeah,
so I don't see why. I mean, just his setup to the big board that is not visual is always great. So like, there's definitely a way to do it without the video, but the video is great. Like the slides he puts up are classics.
Oh no, fantastic! Yeah. All right. So are we going to attempt at least to get an audio version of the professor?
He's, I think, futzing with the camera, but I can tell him, yeah, we'd love to have him on just if he can do it.
I want you, by the way, to make sure that you preserve this segment, and we can send it out as our audition tape for future jobs. This is the business we have chosen. Is all you can think about when stuff like this is happening. Glad you guys are sticking with us, by the way. And later on today, we'll have our no filter thing, and then 10 o'clock, Tony Bruno Sports Network. We're trying to encourage people to log on there, and it would be good. The professor's material here would go over big. And then now, is Mayo going to do the thing? Because I thought about, how ridiculous is it that this game is being played in Germany?
Well, that was my thought.
Chiefs and Dolphins. Yeah.
Eventually, we're going to roll out all, if not all, most of our guys from here there, because that's the idea, is to eventually have that be sort of the linchpin of what we do. But then it's like, do we do too much? You know, it's our first week. We're still working out kinks. So it's like, we're already going to have Kaiten on. We're going to try.
Yeah, I mean, we're crossing our fingers that we get on. What are you talking about, Lubie? You sounded like shit yesterday, you were saying.
That's my
See, I couldn't tell. You didn't sound great to me. I mean, it didn't sound as clear as most people do when what we're just doing, even like this show. And then the guests were coming in only in mono. At least on my reception of it.
Well,
you didn't sound as strong as some of the other people, like Tony Bruno's voice, since he's in his own studio there, which is a booming, I mean, very distinctive, one of the all-time great radio voices, Tony Bruno, who's running the whole show. And he sounds great. So, and then he has all of this really spectacular. I mean, are we trailing the field badly in terms of, sort of glamour production on the show? Because he's got sound effects coming in there and this and that. And then he's got one of those things like it was recorded in the studio of the guy that does the station imaging. Always has like a big voice. My friend Greg Fadick was a classic example of this. When he was at WIOD, they had a guy who was very good. And the program director said, man, I'm changing the whole image of the station. We're going to be like an in-your-face kind of station. I'm like, great. Okay, whatever that means. And so he brought in this guy with a giant voice who ended up, you're familiar with him, real good guy, but probably the biggest voice I've ever heard. And he spoke like this naturally. It wasn't like he was forcing it, and it wasn't like it was being overly processed. But he's the guy that does the Flanagan's ad.
Oh, that guy's great.
Flanagan's. You know that guy. A guy named Greg Fadick.
I love that. That guy's so
fucking guy's great, man. He really is. Bruno's right there, though, with him. I mean, he's right there in terms of voice quality. If you just talk to Tony, that's how he sounds all the time.
That's the thing with Tony is like the minute, even we're like doing the tests and we're just bullshitting about gambling, I get like chills because it's like.
It's amazing, yeah. You're thinking, wow, I'm tuned in to WIP. Where's Angelo Cataldi? And the guy with the ears, the satellite dish ears. He got Jay Fiedler off the hook, huh? Andrew Siciliano. As having who else? Fiedler and Andrew Siciliano, I would say, would be the two greatest examples of satellite dish ears, Lubie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Tony worked with those guys as a classic three-man team. I started to say this. I probably never completed the thought there because there was so much confusion going on as they were trying to figure out, are we on? I hate to or hesitate to touch this microphone because of the need for Viagra for this mic stand, which have I been complaining about this for like 2 years?
You have.
We're going to have to go to like electrical tape at some point. That always looks good when your equipment is being held together by electrical tape, which is a situation I've incurred many, many times over the years that I've been doing this. But it was, one of those things where, you're just not sure if you're even getting on the show. And I'm sorry to hear that you sounded like crap yesterday, Lou, because I thought you did a pretty good job overall on the program. We were filling time there for a while.
Yeah, we were having fun.
And trying to wonder what the heck was going on. And of course, all you have to do is tee it up with your Miami Heat topic. and you could do a half hour just screaming and fetching about that. Does it mean anything? I mean, here's the irony of this tournament thing starting tonight in the NBA.
I think it's dumb. What's funny is the only good thing to me is the Heat have been playing so shitty. I'm like, good. Let them have like a fucking week off to try and like.
But what is? I mean, there's a monetary incentive. I think the winning team. Now think about this for a second, Libby. The winning team, I believe, gets $18 million.
Holy shit! Really?
The winning team of the tournament.
Oh my God!
What is that? I mean, that there are like. What, 15 guys that they have to split that with? So $1 million is a lot of money, no question, but not to people that are making 60. Ken's good to go on audio only. That's good. The professor, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him to the show. And congratulations, Professor. Can you have some kind of? It looks great with the camera with the line through it.
Right.
I think this is our all-time greatest segment. I really do.
Technical difficulties.
Wow. How are you, Professor?
I'm having a week, Defo.
Yeah, tell us about this score, because
first, as everybody on the Defo through the years is familiar with, we lost Loki this week. Loki,
no!
Was pretty much the mascot of Defo Radio. Checked out on Halloween on Tuesday.
Oh, geez. How old was Loki? Loki,
he was
had it
16.
For a long time.
He was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
16. Not bad.
For a big dog, that's a hell of a run. That's I don't even know who to compare it to.
What a wonderful dog, man. I loved when
It's a
Loki would.
Sister Jean's style run there.
Yeah.
At 16 for a big dog.
He thought he was a small dog, though, and
Yes.
you would sit down
Yes.
on Ken's couch, coming over where you would frequently be there, and Loki would just leap.
See, honestly, this
do
is
like
where
a Fosbury flop right in your lap. Man.
This is where Defo has a different experience. Loki was not a jumper really, except with Defo, and could not wait to jump on Defo every time he saw him.
And you know I'm a dog
rather
lover,
unique
so
reaction.
yeah. But that was one big dog to have leaping in your face. I loved Loki, man. He was
Anyway,
great.
and then Wednesday, I got in a car accident. I was
No.
on 95, and some Yutz in an 18-wheeler kicked something off the highway, hit the underside of my car, so the car's in the shop. And then Wednesday night, I get home to find out, was it Wednesday or was it last night? It was Wednesday, I think.
Yes.
I get home to find out I cashed my first Deadpool win ever.
Wow.
And did it with somebody I hate, which I have to say,
No better
there may
circumstance.
be no sweeter set of
Yes.
circumstances in all of the degenerate arts than cashing a big
It's not like
ticket,
Tommy Lasorda died.
than
Right?
cashing a big ticket on the checkout of a piece of scum who you've been rooting for years. And I should say I've been doing this particular Deadpool for 27 years, and I have never
Really?
cashed before.
Never.
So now with the
27
win,
years?
I'm up. Even though I cashed for $3K, I am up $300 for life.
Wow. How often do you have to draw names, or is it a monthly
year.
turnover?
No, it's once a
Oh,
year.
it's once a year.
It's once a year.
Okay.
Till somebody
'Cause I was
checks
wondering,
out or January 1st. You kick
Okay.
in once a year or after somebody checks out.
Okay. All right. So good. All right.
As
so
you know,
it's
you were
100
familiar
years.
with this pool because like 5 years ago, I thought I was going to cash a big. It had rolled over for like 5 years.
Right.
And I thought Tarkanian was going to cash me out because if you remember the ESPN reports, they're like on death's door, will die sometime tonight. And then the next morning, you checked out of the hospital. It was like, yeah, it was just gas. So
It's kind of like having Jimmy Carter in a Deadpool. You're thinking the guy's what? He's been in hospice care for 6 years.
Yeah.
Incredible.
anyway,
On a morphine drip, and he's still breathing.
so yeah, it's been a week of up and downs, and then I tune in yesterday. I see Lubie and everybody else talking about how Bobby Knight was a complicated legacy. What was complicated? The guy was a huge scumbag for like 30 years. Like, I love it when people do this when like there's a successful person who's just a total ball of slime, but because they're successful, we pretend there's something worthwhile and redeeming about them. When again, Bobby Knight spent the vast majority of his life going out of his way to prove there was nothing redeeming about him.
Yeah.
That honestly, he was, I guess, emblematic of that whole generation of coaches, Woody Hayes and that whole group
Yes.
from the 70s and 80s, whereas like you had to be this drill sergeant piece of garbage to be a coach. And even though there were all sorts of, like, again, Bear Bryant was better than Woody Hayes and wasn't a scumbag, but for some reason we had to embrace this group of coaches who acted like awful human beings pretty much constantly and blow them up, even though Dean Smith was more successful than Bobby Knight. Never once did you hear about him beating a player or saying,
Well, but he
women
had the
should
four
enjoy
corners.
rape.
Come on, Ken.
Huh?
The four corners. I mean, will permanently leave him in disgrace. The worst
Again,
offensive strategy in the history of any sport.
when Dean Smith wins a
The
title
four corners.
with less talent, we rip him for the four corners. When Bobby Knight does it, we're like, oh, well, yeah, but he's got little white guys and he wins titles with them, blah, blah, blah. Even though, again, boring. Hey, ponderous with that man-to-man defense all the time. Dull.
See, I kind of like that, man. That was a sign of
I'm not saying you
that
shouldn't
era
play
of
man-to-man.
toughness. Yes.
I'm not saying
Get
you
in some
shouldn't play
guy's face.
man-to-man. I'm saying
Yeah.
when you're scoring like 57 points a game, when Isaiah Thomas is your point guard, you maybe don't have everything going on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Possible. I mean, he had some things working there. I don't know. I don't knock him as an actual coach in terms of strategy.
No, I don't knock him as a
Yeah.
coach. I knock him as just a horrible human being.
Yeah,
Again,
I mean,
if
to
you
be
are
that.
you could
Okay.
be a really good at whatever you do. You could be
Yeah.
like a great stock market guy or a great politician or whatever. But if you're a scumbag, you're still a scumbag. I don't care how successful you are. You're still a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Like Elon Musk is very clearly very good at business, a genius auto owner, also a scumbag, like all white South Africans.
Let's lump them
'Cause I
all in
think
one group. I mean,
if
what about
anybody
Trevor
ever takes-
Denman? Is he a scumbag? I mean, he's
if
a white South African.
anybody
Come on.
ever takes a lesson from this show, from the Professor segment, I want us in America to remember the lessons of Lethal Weapon 2, which is that all white South Africans are scum, and the way you deal with them is to shoot them.
Nice. I just hear Trevor in my head going, he's exuding class. And I'm thinking, yes, this man is the epitome of that. Kidding me? All right. We have to get some picks in, and we're going to try an audio version of the big board.
I have the board. I actually have the board.
Oh, you have the board. Okay. And then
Anyway, after burying the audience last week, let's give out some more probably bad picks because it's just been that kind of week.
Polyman is very sympathetic to the fact that, unfortunately and uncharacteristically, you've been mired in kind of a season-long slump here.
Yes, we've had some up weeks too. It's been a little up and down, but yeah, overall it is not good. Anyway, we're going to I don't know, try to eat some chalk to get back on track here because that seems like the path to me this week. So we're going to take Texas minus 3.5 after losing them last week because BYU could not convert in the red zone, kicking 3 field goals when just 1 touchdown would have covered the game for us. We'll take Texas over a Kansas State team I'm still not impressed with. I know they've been hot lately, but I'm not impressed with the Horns laying 3.5. Horns looked very good with the running game last week. Losing their quarterback, Quinn Ewers, who may or may not be back this week, looks to be definitely back in 2 weeks, but adjusted very well to his loss last week. Next, Oklahoma in Bedlam, laying 6. Not impressed with Oklahoma State. Not a big Mike Gundy fan. Oklahoma just a better football team. Coming off a loss, I think they'll be emotional. They are still in the playoff picture here, so look for the Sooners to bounce back big. Next, West Coast, Washington only laying 3 to USC. It is a road game. For some reason, people on USC this week, I don't understand it. Watching their defense give up 50 to Cal. Yes, they stopped the 2-point conversion, so they didn't outright lose the game. But USC's defense, one of the worst units I've ever seen against a high-flying Washington team. Yes, Washington State has struggled a couple weeks against some lesser opponents. Not a lesser opponent this week. I look for Washington to come in very high to the Coliseum, walk out with a win, laying 3. And finally, our last in the chalk-eating pig of the week, Alabama, an improved football team, laying 3 at home to LSU. Honestly, LSU, another team, great offense, absolutely no defense, have been miserable. Yes, their defense looked a little bit healthier as they got a win over Army, but it's Army. Like, if you're LSU and you can't shut out Army, you ought to shut down the season.
All right, are we going to attempt it? Do we have time, Lubie?
Yeah, I mean, he did it. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get through it.
Okay, all right. Let's get it going here. The big board, the professor, the big board for this week.
So, yes, despite my camera not working, we go to huge technological struggles in order to get the big board going. And as Polyman pointed out, there's only one form of handicapping I can apparently do this week.
Yes.
So, Lubie, if you want to share that screen, we've got
big
your
board
big
of your
board.
sports Deadpool best picks.
Nice.
This is what Mayo was.
Apparently, this is the one that I can actually cash in.
Okay.
Celebrating the death of Bobby Knight. People have asked me, what are you going to do with the winnings? Obviously, I'm going to fly to Indiana and go piss on Bobby Knight's grave.
Makes perfect sense.
Obviously.
Well justified.
And, of course, all sorts of iterations of the Deadpool. In mine, everybody submits a name. You throw them in a hat, and then you pick so that you're most likely going to end up with somebody else's name. But if you get to pick your own in your particular Deadpool, however you arrange it, we're giving you some names here that I think are going to represent a very good shot of cashing in your sports Deadpool if you happen to play a sports Deadpool.
Okay. No, I mean,
celebrity Deadpool.
Have to say, cashing in a Deadpool is usually very, very profitable. I mean, we just had with Brooks Robinson checking out, one of our friends split $27,000.
There you go.
In a Deadpool, which was a monthly thing at $100 a month, but nonetheless, and she happened to be a baseball fan and is in celebration of one of the great players of all time and a real gentleman too. So it works both ways. All right, where do we go with number 5?
We're going with number 5, which is age-wise not necessarily the most conventional pick, but does lead you into how we handicap. And number 5, your number 5 pick is Kurt Schilling. Now, if you're trying to handicap sports Deadpool,
he's not that old. Yeah,
Kurt Schilling is not that old, but he does represent what we call the golden triangle. 3 legs of the triangle, obviously. Number 1, he's fat. Now, I'm not Kurt Schilling's personal trainer. I don't know his body composition and whatnot. But as we know, medically speaking, the obese do not do well with age. And number two, obviously, Kurt Schilling, BMI-wise, has been medically obese for his entire adult life. So you combine fat with number two, he's obstinate. Because what we want is somebody who's going to go to his doctor, and when the doctor says Lipitor, Kurt Schilling is going to say, Big Pharma's trying to kill me, man. They're trying to take away my freedom. When the doctor says, well, then, Mr. Schilling, maybe not eat sausage 10 times a week. Maybe cut it down to 5. Kurt's going to say, you're trying to stop me from my rights as an American. You're trying to restrict my free speech to eat sausage. And then number 3, angry. Because if you've ever been on Twitter, all Kurt Schilling does 24 hours a day is be angry at people. I know that because very often I'm the one on there egging him on, trying to get him angry. By pointing out that he's a fiscal conservative who stole a couple $100 million worth of TARP money and never paid it back.
Yes.
So again, the golden triangle for an early checkout for the next, like, obesity, obstinacy, and anger. Kurt Schilling, an excellent example of all 3 of those. That's what we like to call the golden triangle when we're looking for an early checkout.
All right, he's only number 5, off to a strong start. The big board of Deadpool possibilities.
Number 4, again, we're going off the board a little bit here, but I think this man has a very strong resume, and that is one Aaron Rodgers. When you hate medical doctors and you love Mexican drugs, that's not a good cocktail. And let's be honest,
classic.
Aaron Rodgers likes to go down to Mexico to get his ayahuasca. The cartel's spiking everything with fentanyl. Eventually, they're going to get around to ayahuasca, and we're going to get to that report. Aaron Rodgers found dead on Mexican shaman farm.
Yeah. El Chapo ends up making a giant score, even though he's locked away in some high-security prison.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just saying, and plus, let's be honest, we've seen Blue of Earth and the rest of the women Aaron Rodgers is hanging out with at Burning Man these days. The odds of drawing some deadly venereal disease also very high for one Aaron Rodgers.
Plus, who knows? Maybe he gets back with Danica Patrick, and you thought you were in an accident.
Yeah, honestly, if you get in a car with Danica Patrick, you're probably...
You have to have a death wish, no doubt. I mean, holy Charles Bronson,
I'm
what
just
are we
saying,
talking
obviously, age-wise, in good health, yes, but Aaron Rodgers has that obstinacy and very high at-risk lifestyle in a number of areas.
You're right. He doesn't like doctors. He literally is going to cure an Achilles by taking apples and oranges and fucking sleep.
Again, if it were apples and oranges and sleep, I wouldn't mind, but it's not that. It's Mexican stuff he bought off he's out there licking toads to cure his Achilles tendon, and that's not good.
I think he's going to be anchoring the 4x100 relay this week at some track meet also for the American team. No, it's amazing. I was just reading a story about his remarkable recovery here, so maybe it works. All right, but definitely in there with a shot. The fentanyl angle is certainly a strong one.
And we're going to stay a little bit unconventional with our picks, which is it's always your family that's going to get you. When you're known as a great one, when a country worships you, but every business venture you've ever tried in your life has been a miserable failure. Yep. Your wife is running a gambling pool with another member of your team, and your daughter's an Instagram whore. At some point, you're going to consider waking up and swallowing a shotgun. Let's just be honest. I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon,
does that disqualify you?
Wade Gretzky has had to think about it at some point. I mean, honestly, the MVP thing where he was with Michael Jordan and Bo Jackson, how did that not work? How did that lose money?
Is there a suicide clause, though?
The Honus Wagner card with Bruce McNall, that thing's selling for like $12 million these days. They sold it like 30 years ago for $400,000. And your wife is dating a guy who does so much coke, he keep getting suspended by the PGA Tour. Do you know how much coke you have to do to get suspended by golf? Look at Bruce Koepka. Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka does so much that they're out of it in South Florida, just thanks to Brooks Koepka. But Dustin Johnson keeps getting suspended from the tour from it. How many truckloads are you doing?
Yeah. It's good. All well taken. And it is gambling, so you have to take some shots here.
Like I
Gretzky.
said, when you have life by
Yes.
the tail on a downhole pull like Wayne Gretzky has his whole life,
Yes.
and every decision you have ever made, both personally and professionally, is turned wrong, there's going to be some morning where you're going to wake up a little sad. And, hey, look, we know Janet Gretzky's lifestyle. There's a gun in that house somewhere.
There's always a possibility, too, that some reprisal, might come from those cops that Janet Gretzky buried when she was involved in that gambling scheme.
Also that. So, again, unconventional, but the great one, a very high pick. Would be very upsetting to the entire nation of Canada if it happened.
Gretzky angle, number 3.
Number 2, and now we're getting into our stone cold locks. It's really just a question, just a matter of time. And that is number 2, Huggy Bear. I love him. I love him. But when you celebrate on a Thursday night by having an entire case of beer,
yes,
you can tell from this picture it is not a healthy lifestyle.
No, he doesn't look good either, particularly in the picture that you have up here on the big board.
Yes, we have talked about the combination of obesity and anger in the past. It is not a good one.
No.
For this. And let's be honest, if there's anybody who is going much like Bear Bryant, who died a month after leaving the coaching profession, if there's anybody who's going to take not coaching hard, it's the Huggy Bear. Like he doesn't have a lot going on in his life other than coaching and raging alcoholism. So if one is now gone, what are you going to fill it with? Because in the case of Huggy, I'm saying case after case of bourbon.
Never forget, me with my big intros and everything. We get Bob Huggins through Leslie Visser. She was doing a show with me in Lappa Nation, of all places. So we're thinking this is going to be very impressive for a weenie radio station like 640 was. And we do this big intro, and Leslie's all excited. And he gets on the phone and goes, "What are you calling me for?" Drunk out of his mind. I mean, at like 9 in the morning. It was great. So that was a little deflating, and naturally, it didn't lead to much of a stimulating conversation. Thanks, Bob. So nice of you to get up and do this for us. All right, he's number 2, the very likely candidate. So where do we go for number 1?
Number 1, not only here's the problem with this pick is that literally everybody picks this guy in every sports Deadpool. You're either going to have to get lucky on the draw or get a top pick. This is always going to be like a top 2 or 3 pick.
Yeah.
And that is Lou Holtz. And we use this picture to illustrate a point, which is Lou Holtz always has that look on his face like he just finished 5 seconds ago crapping his pants. Constantly. It is in a constant state of whenever you see Lou Holtz in any situation. Again, look at him here. That's a man who just dumped in his Depends.
Yeah. He doesn't look good in that picture. That's for sure.
He doesn't look good in any picture. First of all, he's always been, let's say, willy. But now he has that frail look. He has that frail look that, like, if someone's going to drop from a common cold, it's Lou Holtz.
Jesus.
Yeah, and he went Julius Caesar with the hair. He's been coming it straight down for a while.
If somebody's going to get, like, bumped into in a hallway and just randomly check out from falling down, it's Lou Holtz. Like, look at it.
Is he even on the list, or is he automatically disqualified?
He looks like he could break a hip walking some stairs.
That's numero uno on the list of the big board.
But
Lou
we
Holtz.
do have a bonus slide, Defo, because we want to issue caution here, because there is a way that a lot of people are going to be thinking after this week in terms of potential checkouts. And I want to warn you, it's not going to happen. So our bonus slide, our warning to all sports Deadpool players out there, evil never dies. Rat face ain't going anywhere for a long time. You're going to say, but Kenny's had health problems for years. He faked every single one of those.
Yes.
Every health issue this man has ever had, he faked to get out of a mediocre season. He will outlive us all. He's going to be around 40 years from now with that same Count Chocula look on his face. Do not pick this man. There is no chance he's ever going anywhere.
Well, since it took you 27 years to cash the first time, I mean, imagine how glorious it would be if
27 years.
27 years from now you picked up another 3 dimes. When
he's
Coach
going to
K
live.
checked out.
He's going to live to well past Sister Jean proportions.
Did anybody have Sister Jean? Is she part of the Deadpool draw? Be very frustrating to lose to you with Bobby Knight when you were holding a ticket on a 108-year-old woman. All right, Professor, we have to run, man. That was great stuff. I'm hoping you can reprise some of this in some kind of form. We won't have the pictures, but I think we can. I think we can do it if you can make it onto the Tony Bruno show with this thing, because just a celebration of the Bobby Knight passing, I think, would be well worth visiting.
Well, based on my computer, I'm not sure that this thing isn't going to blow up on me like the battery on the JetBlue flight did yesterday. So we'll see.
Okay. See what you can do there with that, because we would only need the professor on the telephone, right?
Yeah, it's just phone. It's just a phone.
Yeah. Okay. We should be able to. Although, does he need to reference the material as he's doing this? Seems to me like he's rolling this off the top of his head, pretty much. I don't think all of that is scripted. Hopefully he can do it, because I think that would be a good way to introduce our Degenerate Friday festivities to the Tony Bruno Sports Network audience. All right, you can join us there at 10 o'clock. We'll be at the track today with Mike Mayo.
Yes.
This afternoon, it's Breeders' Cup, the beginning of the Friday card at Santa Anita. The last, races 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Last 5 races are Breeders' Cup races. And you'll hear, if you're at a simulcasting place and they have the sound on, which I would imagine they would, you'll hear the great Pete Aiello from Gulfstream Park calling a couple of the races today, courtesy of an opportunity accorded him by our great friend for many, many years. And he was a caller here in Hialeah. I got to know him real well over 30 years ago. And he's evolved to being, you would have to say, the guy with the top 2 gigs in the country, Santa Anita and Saratoga. Frank Miramonti is giving the opportunity to Pete to call a couple of Breeders' Cup races. And that should be great. Both of those guys are dynamite at what they do. So looking forward to that later on in the day. You can join us out at Gulfstream Park, 1 o'clock, 10 Palms, and we'll have the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show. All right, we have a lot to do. So we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
9/11.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.